survived another day. Been a really busy couple days at work. Been working on correcting some blueprints, some as-builts for some of our infrastructure. One of my pet peeves that really annoys me. When you get to a project and you read a print and it takes you to a location or a terminal block in a substation or a traffic cabinet, and there's supposed to be something there, a wire landed, and you get to an empty screw. And then you have to figure out, where is everything that's supposed to be there? You stop and you take the time, you get with the appropriate departments, and you correct it, because there's nothing more useless to me in the middle of the night than a print that isn't accurate. And then we had to change a detection system for part of an intersection where they're doing a big milling and paving project. They're going to cut up traffic loops. Loops are in the ground. They detect your vehicle as they drive over it. Usually we had to go to an overhead type system because they're going to destroy that. So we're going to cut to the chase of this video's topic. I think we're in episode 5. If not, we'll just call it the episode. It's going to be the work. We talked about how way back video 2 I think, how we got from high school to where I am, you know, just the things that kind of transpired in work in my career. I haven't touched on how much work it took to get there, like time-wise, investment-wise, how much time I invested in actually working through those years. So you take 15 years old to now 36. You take outside of high school, graduating college, I was 19. You know, I had some part-time, 15 to 19. 19 to 36. Full on, full tilt, full-time, multiple jobs. You know, one big key to my success I want to point out right at the beginning of this episode is my parents allowed me to have to struggle through some things. They helped me, but they didn't like pay for a lot of things. We were a very lower middle class family. We didn't have much. And having to struggle through some things almost to an annoying level as a kid for certain stuff. I might have had a few arguments with my late father. Bless his heart, love him to death. I miss you, Dad, every day. Boy, did that make me a better person that could persevere and pull through struggles. And boy, has that paid me dividends in my career, because there's a lot of people that I have worked with, and I'm not disparaging people here, but there's a lot of people that can't persevere today in a career path. And boy, the world needs that. So the amount of work it took was a full-time job and a side hustle from the time I was 19 to this day continued. My side hustles have lessened. They've come and gone. With, you know, the having to manage time management. Got a wife and 2 kids, you know. Once the kids came into the world, that was one of my big things. They said, father now, and there's going to be times I'm going to do fatherly things. Like I said, take the kids hunting, take the kids fishing, go on vacation, go for a walk, go for a bike ride, go for a hike in the woods. We've got a lot of woods, you know. That was one thing we talked about, is how we get from high school to 36-year-old guy, wife and kids, me and my wife own an older farmhouse on 310 acres in the Adirondacks. And people think about that and they go, how did you afford all that? Well, I can tell you for a fact, for free, it was not easy. But it comes down to a ton of hard work by me and my wife. A ton of her supporting me in a lot of things and a lot of adventures, and not being absent. We've had a great life, a lot of fun times, but it took a ton of work. I mean, Saturdays, Sundays. When I first started at the dealership right out of college, we were working 4 10-hour days. on this weird rotating schedule. I went into the manager and I said, I want you to fill the other 2 days. If not, all 7. You know, I don't remember having a Sunday, so I think it was 6 10s. I worked 6 10s for as long as I could until the other guys in the shop got mad because I was sucking up all the overtime. We were working in the garage. We had an old barn at my father's house. Mind you, I'm living on my own. I'm renting a single wide trailer. You heard that? Renting a single wide trailer from my father. My parents and mom divorced. And a lot of people, your father charged you rent. Yeah, he charged me rent. How do you learn to live on your own if you don't learn how to pay? So we're working full time during the day. Sometimes we were screwing off in the shop at night, but sometimes we worked. And then that transitioned, depending on time frame, slowly into more work. You know, so like the garage load started light. And what we did is we had an old barn that we converted to a 2-car garage, a 2-bay garage, a shop. Worked out of there for a while, and then I went through a breakup. My wife went through a breakup, and we met. We kind of ran back into each other. That's another story for another episode. And when we got together, she was busy finishing school. I was done at the dealership, and I was working at the city at the time, and I had been continuing to moonlight the whole time, working on cars on the side, you know, really exercising that technical background, using it to my advantage, saving cash, paying off student loans as much as I could, whatnot, right? So that got me to a point where we weren't married yet, but we bought our first house shortly after my wife graduated college. It was a dumper. You know, $55,000 house. That seems crazy today. 2-bedroom, 2-bath, something like that. So we fixed that up. We lived in it for about 8 months, and my family decided to sell the house we're in now, the farm. Turned around and bought that. It's 2 mortgages in like a year. Breaking some Dave Ramsey rules on that one. We had rented some space to run the shop closer to town while we were at the house in Morrisonville. So I'm working full time, I'm renovating a house, and I'm running a business. At this point, the business is Get Automotive at the time, way back. And we're putting in some hours, some exhausting hours. And now we got to move to the farmhouse, we call it. So we moved to the farmhouse. We start renting the first house we bought. Not making a ton, but it's paying the mortgage, right? It's building equity. It's cool. And I kept the shop, the rented space in town for about a month. And I said, I'm going to finish converting this old barn that we've been using as like flat base to actual garage space. Put a 2-post lift in it, some doors. And we moved everything home, got all the permitting in town. Park and everybody else that we had to run up, you know, a really small mom and pop home-based business. And we rented the house in Morrisonville for a while. So that situation, living in the farmhouse, the new house on the 136 or whatever acres, renting the house in Morrisonville, working full-time, moonlighting at night, goes on for like 18 months or 2 years. And the older couple that owned the property next door to us, another 176 acres, decides they're going to sell that property. And I've had my eye on that property forever. I mean, I'd hate to see another hunting club or somebody come in next to us. I got kids prospectively coming in my head someday. And no, I take that back. When that came up for sale, we had already had Everett. We were married, so it was longer than 18 months. We were in the farmhouse for a while, and Everett was born. That's what we were working on. Oh yeah, we started putting an addition on the house. moonlighting in the garage lasted about 7 years while I worked my way up the career path in the city and got into the electric department, worked my way into the electrician's department, and just kept growing my career on that side of it so it would support the amount of income we needed to stop working in the garage at night and still be able to do the things we do and finish the house. You know, we're talking about remodeling here. We're working on remodeling anyways, a 1929 farmhouse, which is great because it keeps my taxes somewhat low because it's always an old house. But you're remodeling an old house, it's a lot of work. Spending time with the kids, whatnot. So we finally stopped, took our foot off the accelerator pedal sometime around 2017, 2018 probably, 2018, right before my daughter was born, on the garage. But you look at, so 19 years old, I graduated high school 2007. You look at 2007 to about 2017, we ran wide open full-time job, side business, rental property. Involved in that shortly after Mavry was born, so right around 2018, born in 17, we sold the rental property, cashed out that equity, and started trying to concentrate on other projects, which we've done and I'll talk about in other videos. But we literally sprinted and worked as hard as we possibly could for an entire decade. And some periods of it wasn't a choice. I mean, to be very honest, everybody should hear this. Another really broke Dave Ramsey rule. When we bought the lot next door, I was $800 a month backwards, which doesn't seem that big, but on a budget, you know, I was making like $2,200 a month at the time, and I had to make all that money in the shop at night, no matter what. You know, you had to be willing, and you have to be willing if you're going to jump into something like that. Don't ever go into it unless you're 100% willing to take the responsibility, go into it wholehearted, and work as hard as you have to work to make it happen. And we did. And that was exhausting. But that's what it took to go from maybe owning a home someday to owning a home, remodeling it. It's not finished yet, but making it much nicer, and sitting on a big spread of property that most people could only dream about owning. Some great deal making, you know, some people being willing to hold a mortgage. Paid a lot of interest. Dear God, I'm trying to always get past paying interest. You know, did some of it wrong at the wrong time probably, but that piece of property in my eyes would have sold and never had a chance to buy it again. But it took an immense amount of hours, to make all that happen and push through all the problems and the things that came up. And, you know, working in a garage with no heat, frozen fingers, etc. And there's a lot of people out there that'll work that hard and have worked that hard, and that's good. The world needs that. But I don't ever like it when someone says, "Oh, it must be nice to have what you have." Yeah, it is nice, because I slaved and worked hard for it. I feel like some days. So the moral of that story is, when you put your head down, you say, "I want something," you gotta really want it. Because the amount of work it can take today to get it done can be overwhelming. And you have to have the push to do it. You have to have the drive to want to make it happen. And that can be a pretty wild amount of work. I don't regret it, I can tell you that. When you're tramping around on your own mountain, hiking your own trails, walking your own ground, and enjoying it with your family. You walk out your back door, go hunting or fishing. It's pretty cool. So, if you want something, be prepared. Go bust your butt and get it. And we'll talk to everybody in the next episode.